Hello, party people. My name is Clarence Rick Napier, and I am the owner of the insurance brokerage. And I'm also the president at 321 Biz Development. Our insurance brokerage is licensed in multiple states, which include Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Washington State, California, and Texas. Today is June 16th, 2025, and the title of this podcast episode is, Are Your Sales Skills Equal or Better to a Homeless Person? That's right. That's what I said. And I hope this podcast episode does not rub people the wrong way. But I just want to let people know that if you look at what homeless people do on street corners and on standing on the medians, at traffic lights, and look at what they do and compare what we as salespeople do, you might see yourself wondering, are you just as good or better, or maybe not as good or better as a homeless person? So let me give you some context. In California, I used to see homeless people standing on corners and standing on the medians at intersections, asking for whatever money that they could get for people when they stop at the red light. They're making right turns or they're making left turns, and the homeless person is standing right there. Now, in full context, what you have to kind of understand is that homeless people face the most rejection ever. As a licensed insurance agent, I thought like 20 years ago that I would face a lot of rejection, and I do get some rejection. It's not as much as it used to be because I use the 321 Biz Dev sales system, which kind of softens, if not eliminates, most rejection. But the homeless people, they're standing there for hours and they're asking for whatever they can get. And I had a chance to meet a few homeless people over the last 5 years. And this one guy in particular, it was a black gentleman, and he would be there in the morning in this fairly busy intersection in Sacramento County. And he would stand there, and this place had Home Depots, it had a Starbucks, it had a McDonald's, a Burger King, gas stations. So the area was a high traffic area. And this guy would stand on the corner, and he was dressed kind of casual. He wasn't dressed like totally like a homeless person, nor was he dressed like a professional like we would as white collar small business owners. And this guy would get, a couple of dollars. Sometimes he'd get a $5. Sometimes he would get a $10. So what I did one day after I gave him $10, I asked him, I said, how much are you making, and how do you feel about, asking people for money? I mean, the official term is called panhandling, which I don't necessarily use that term because as a salesperson, we are commanded, or it's a requirement for salespeople to ask for money for products and services. So I asked him, I said, how much, if you don't mind me asking, are you making? And he told me on bad days, he would make $150. On good days, he could make as much as $400. And I said, wow, I said, that is pretty amazing. And I said, how do you feel about the rejection that you may get? How do you feel about people that may roll their windows up or give you the middle finger, or sometimes cuss you out, sometimes tell you to go get a real job? How do you feel about that? He said at the beginning, it kind of got him, it impacted him and made him feel bad. But over time, after about 3 to 4 months, as long as he was bringing home like the $150 or up to $400 was his maximum that he ever received, he felt good about it, and he was able to go back to a room that he rented and just live like a normal person. So the reason why I'm doing this podcast episode is because As salespeople, we have the licenses, we have the degrees, we have the certifications. I'm talking about attorneys, CPAs, dentists, plastic surgeons, real estate brokers and agents, insurance brokers and agents, people who sell products and services starting at $1,000 and higher. And our job is the same essentially as the homeless person, which is to make contact. Now, the truth is, the homeless person has a better sales and marketing plan. When you consider what the homeless person is doing and what we do as business professionals. And specifically what I mean by that, and this is the part that's going to shock you, the homeless person does not have to deliver a product or service. The homeless person's only job, if you want to call it that, is to ask for the money and either get the money or not get the money. And guess what? The homeless person is done. So at the end of the day, when that homeless person is getting $150 or up to $400 based on what this homeless person told me and what he actually showed me and the kind of car that he was driving, his car was not too much different than a person with a 9-to-5 job. The person was driving, to see, this is like in 2020, this person was driving, he was driving like a 2015 Toyota Camry with no dents on it, clean inside. This guy was doing pretty good. Now compare what the homeless person was doing, in other words, getting the money, and he's done. Doesn't have to deliver a product or service. And what we do, we have to contact prospects, set appointments, go to the appointment and try to close. So when you think about, people like ourselves, white collar small business owners, and the high level products and services that we bring to the table and we offer prospects and clients, the homeless person's job or business, if you can call it that, is easier than ours. But on a psychological level, why does the homeless person believe that being rejected is less of an issue than we think rejection is? Because I know people that I met, I know people that I started training with the 321 BizDev system, how to master contacting, prospecting, setting the appointment, closing, and getting zero cost referrals. I've met with people, and some of these people have had educations at prestigious universities. They've passed rigorous exams for passing the bar for the attorney designation. They've passed the dental certification. They've passed the CPA certification and worked at a major CPA firm to get the designation as CPA. And with all of that strength and weight behind their name and their profession, often they are reluctant to say hello to someone and move that contact through the phase to find out if their product or service is a good fit. So I just wanted to do this podcast episode to let people know that people with less education, less prestige, less credentials are doing what we should be doing, but for some reason we feel that it's not copacetic to ask people for their business. So if you're interested in learning how to improve your client acquisition, how to connect with more people better in a methodical way, please reach out to me, Clarence Napier, at 866-901-9876. I have a 6 to 9 hour course that people can enroll in to help you minimize that fear of making contact with people. So take care and have a great day.